Your live video is starting. Hola! Yeah, the head is not so big, so it's not attracting any planets. So I think we're going to be good. There'll be no cataclysmic or any kind of chaotic events happening because my head looks a little bit smaller now. Um, I was basically going over, and I guess there was no sound in the last video, but it was regarding some of the dumb shit that I've said recently concerning, the whole something in the water and local events, and then also the water park situation. Um, and what I was bringing up and what you couldn't hear was I was saying that there's been a lot of players in the local community who have contributed over the years regarding music and arts and culture, and a lot of people who are considered the smaller people or unrecognized. It sounds like I may be talking about me, myself, but I'm not. I'm really referring to people who have run open mic nights and people who have opened up business opportunities and what you would call partnering in the Hampton Roads community to actually provide arts and culture and music events opportunities for people like myself, but not only myself, for up and coming and developing talent. Um, and so, saying all of that is, I've said stuff, that is very might be considered haterade, but it's not really. I'm not hating on anybody particular. But what I do feel like is one of the things that's not really discussed is the consumer perspective when large scale events are being put on. And of course, we have this new event, Something in the Water is kind of a newer thing to our area in a way. And then we have the American Music Festival. And then we have also the new country PBR, Professional Bull Riders. I don't know what that new country thing is, but that's also a big event that's coming here and going to have high end entertainers. And so, me bringing this up is the reason why I've stated some of the stuff I have in the past. If anybody's watched, is I feel like it's become a little bit less about consumer friendliness and more about corporate, uh, you know, getting, maybe charging a little bit too much money, I feel like, or not really having the right goals in mind when it comes to actually producing a large scale event. And I'm not picking directly on anybody in particular, but it just feels like back in the day when Ticketmaster and Pearl Jam went head to head, the whole big reason for that and the idea was that Eddie Vedder was speaking out against the reasons for why he does what he does. And not only that, he felt like there was a level of unfairness to the consumer and general fan of music. And so the reason why that was such an issue, I think, is because he felt like uh, because there was only a certain uh, avenue for him to use, he was being pigeonholed and not really having a choice on what he could charge for events. And he wanted to be really friendly when it comes to fans and consumers because he doesn't care so much about it. Isn't all about making the top end, but really being fair to everyone in general when it comes to putting on a concert. Like, I don't know Eddie Vedder, and I've never met him, but I'm imagining that part of the reason why that whole battle went down was because he was really concerned that the fan and the average consumer could come to an event and feel comfortable and happy that they were getting their money's worth, and not only that, but not overpaying. And so when it comes to these large scale events like Something in the Water, American Music Festival, and I'm going to even say this new country festival, which I don't know the name, fair ticket pricing is something that I think they should really consider. And I get that you have a large production where it takes a lot of money because you have to have the production crew come in and you have scaffolding and you have stage equipment and you have, lighting rigs and all of this stuff, which a lot of people wouldn't know, but I've actually had experience doing that for event staffing. I worked for them for a year, and then after that, I continued to do some events, a few uh, as a subcontractor. But anyway, my only point is what you don't realize, or maybe some people don't realize, is it starts as a blank canvas, and then everybody comes together, and you got a large group of people cooperating to bring this whole event into fruition. And so it takes a lot of money to actually raise the scaffolding, do the lighting, set up all the sound equipment, sound checking, and then all the time that goes into that, plus tents and other things, and then vendor spaces. All of that stuff is all set up in the early part of the day, and then constructed and erected by the midday, and then they got to come back the next day and tear it all down. So it does require a ton of money and time and effort to make all of that work. So the people do got to get paid. But on the other hand, is the average consumer, and when you think about what people generally make in a given area, especially a place like this, it just seems like when a ticket price is upwards of $100 or more, it just feels not so consumer friendly and not really considering the average person and what they make. And granted, I get it. If somebody mentioned somebody I know said $250 million. Yeah, no, of course, you're nobody, right? If you're not making millions and millions of dollars, right? I know maybe that wasn't the point, but my only thought in bringing this up is that still doesn't matter. I mean, whether like me, if I'm considered a nobody, it doesn't matter. If I'm going to do an event myself, if I had only 100 fans, uh, and I think I have more than that, but even if I only had 100 fans, I would consider who those people are, what kind of money they make, and that would be part of the consideration that would go into what am I going to charge these people to come to my event. And here's an example. I'm now part of the Fringe Festival for April 7th. Shameless plug, April 7th at 10:30, a Friday night. I will be performing, and I'm doing an hour show. But if they were considering charging like $75 to start for the ticket price, I probably would have said, I don't think this event is something I want to partake in. And the reason why is because I would have said that I don't feel like that's fully consumer friendly, and that may even detract from the people who might be considered fans of my own, who might want to attend this event but feel like it's slightly overpriced or even priced too high to a point where somebody else is benefiting. And so I only bring that up because it just seems like events nowadays aren't, it's not like they're done in the wrong way, but it seems like if they had even a little bit more of a better objective on what they spend the money on and why they spend the money, and why it all comes anyway, I think that they could come up with a better solution that's more consumer friendly. But not only that, but maybe a contribution type effort too, where they're contributing to like a charity or some type of organization that's helping other people. For example, we have these three big situations, and I get that they have to pay these people, but what if they were actually done with some kind of charitable cause connected to them? Uh, I've been in music for a long time. I've never been a part of the big music tier of high-end performers or major label industry stuff. But years and years ago, when there was issues with farms and providing sustainable food methods, and the farming industry was taking a hit, and they were struggling because of certain weather conditions changing and droughts and some things like that, they came up with something called Farm Aid. And what happened was some even Hollywood stars, but not alone Hollywood stars like Chris Christopherson and other people, but people like Willie Nelson and I don't know if Garth Brooks was involved, but other big, large country artists came together to support the farming community through Farm Aid, and they did a series of concerts where they actually contributed large amounts of money by putting on these shows. And yes, some of the entertainers may have gotten paid, but some of the entertainers, I imagine, probably donated their time, and they were able to accomplish fixing a problem that the sustainable agriculture and farming industry was having at the time. And so when you consider those other problems as part of giving back, I think it just makes for a better situation all around when it comes to putting on a arts and culture type event and you have a cause attached. It kind of it gives people also an incentive to be wanted, desire to be a part of it, you know, because people know that part of their dollars is actually going to something good that can help people. So I say what I said. I don't mean I've never met Pharrell or anybody from the Something in the Water staff or any of that, or the people, the key people who make that event go on. It's not like a poke at them. Who doesn't want other people to be successful? I'm not the kind of guy who looks at what somebody else's end takeaway is and goes, gosh, man, that person is making way too much money, and why do they need to keep doing it that way, and blah 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 blah. You know, that's not really the issue for me as a person, attendee, a potential fan, or even a music person that might be involved with not that in particular, but maybe something else. My concern is those things that as an artist I would be thinking about, because it just makes for a more community oriented situation. I think people will feel better about it. So I've made this the first video. I had more meat and stuff about community and some of the things that I think, and information, but it kind of, that video didn't have any sound. But my only point is, if anybody sees this, it's not to take a stab at anybody and their success and what they do and bring to the area. You know, I wish Pharrell and all the people who do Something in the Water much success, and even the American Music Festival and even the New Country Festival for Virginia Beach. You know, we just, as an entertainer myself, which whatever scale I'm at, tiny artist, small artist, medium career artist, whatever it is, I think the thing that should be considered, though, is a little bit more of a community awareness and consumer awareness kind of perspective, because the average ticket price seems to be generally lately through the roof. And if maybe I'm wrong, but when I was just at Walmart, I got an opinion from some people, and they said very similar things. And they said that, you know, it's great to have these wonderful things, but they felt like it was just slightly overpriced. And you know, one of the artists that was brought up in this small conversation I just had at Walmart, doing music education and and review at Walmart. But I was talking to a girl, and she said, I said, who's your favorite artist? She said, Taylor Swift. I said, well, if she came to this area, how much money do you think you would spend? And she's like, I really don't know. I'm a super fan. I said, well, $75? She said that wouldn't be too much. That would be great. I said, well, what happens if it was $300 or $400? Would you do it? And she said, I don't think so. And of course, a festival is bringing 40 or 50 acts together, and it's a lot of different people coming together and getting paid varying scales of pay. But my only point in bringing it all up is the average person like her, who is standing outside of Walmart doing some kind of fundraising job, she doesn't make 40 or 50, thousand a year. Maybe she makes less than that. And for someone like that to attend an event, it just seems way above. And it's like, who deserves to, though? Like, who shouldn't that girl be able to go to a concert, versus the person who has who makes $500,000 to $1 million a year? The opportunity should be there for the person who does that kind of community work, and should be able to afford a ticket. So I say all that because it would just be nice. If it's not going to be so consumer friendly, then it should be something. It would be nice to see that it would be something that's considering helping out some kind of situation, like a charity or organization who can use the extra money and dollars to help fund and bring their organization forth. So this video is long. It's almost 15 minutes. Talked a lot, but I don't want people to think that whatever my opinion is and what if it matters at all. It just is really in the interest of generally, a lot of people nowadays things are a little tighter, and it seems like a lot of stuff has gone up, and especially in our local area. But has the pay scale gone up? Has people's wages gone up? I mean, there was an increase in minimum wage. What was it, 3 years back or sometime before COVID? But since then, we've had fluctuating gas prices and all these things, and it would just be nice to actually have things that are a little bit more consumer friendly for people. I have a concert April 7th at 10:30. If you want to come out to it, it's about an hour long event. I am right now hopefully getting some video together for that, and I say hopefully, but I've had a lot of distractions. I'm going to try and see if I can't focus. I really had a karaoke situation where I was going to go out and perform at a karaoke open mic type situation, and I blew it. I'm sorry, I didn't go. I'm just in a place where I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but I would like to participate in some local events. I really would like to actually get back out and perform, and not just, in this new arena of events where I'm going to be doing like a 300-seat venue. That's pretty big for me. I've never had that, but then again, the Norva is a place that holds 2,000 people, so I did play there before. Anyway, I would like to be back at clubs doing some stuff too, and or taking this new entertainment concept to a bigger place. So if you get a chance, you should check out some of the new music. Drag Me Down, Lost Again, Happy for Me, and Run Run are all out on all music platforms. And if you get a chance, listen to a song and tell me what you think. I would love to know. And if you don't, I'm going to be all over radio at some point. I'm like, God, come on.